The Doe's villa stood on the edge of the city, a palace of marble, olive trees, and secrets. The kind of place where silence wasn't peace. It was power. And in that silence a little girl listened. Her name was Lena, 9 years old, small, soft-spoken, with deep brown eyes that seemed to see things no one else noticed. She wasn't born into this world of luxury and danger. She was the daughter of a maid who once worked here, a woman half Chinese, half Italian, with a heart too kind for a place like this. When Lena's mother died suddenly 2 years ago, Don Salvatore Romano, the most feared man in Italy, took the girl in, not out of pity, but out of something else, something even he couldn't explain. To him, Lena was a reminder that even monsters can still feel love. Every morning, Lena wandered through the villa barefoot, her small steps echoing against marble floors polished to a mirror shine. She'd pass the grand dining hall, where men in suits whispered about money and power, and she'd keep her distance, clutching her doll close. Those men, his guards, his soldiers, rarely noticed her. To them, she was invisible, just a child. But Lena noticed everything. She saw how the doe's smile never reached his eyes anymore. She heard how the walls carried secrets when the doors were closed. And that morning, the morning that changed everything, she heard something she was never supposed to. It happened near the courtyard. Lena was sitting by the stairs, playing with her doll, when two new guards walked past. Their suits were crisp, their eyes sharp, their expressions unreadable. They weren't like the others. And when they spoke, they didn't speak Italian. They spoke Chinese. Lena froze. Her little heart skipped. She understood pieces, not everything, but enough. Her mother had taught her words long ago. Bedtime whispers in two tongues. Zijin meant goodbye. Baj meant explosion. That was the word she heard now. Explosion. Her fingers went still on the doll's hair. Guard one in Chinese, lo. When he gets in the car, it ends. Fast. No noise. No evidence. Guard 2 in Chinese. Good. The boss wants it clean. No mistakes. Lena's breath caught in her throat. They didn't see her. They kept walking toward the garage, calm and confident. But she knew what she heard, and in her tiny chest. Panic bloomed like a wildfire. Lena pressed her back against the cold marble wall. Her hands shook. Her lips trembled as she whispered to herself, "The car, they're going to hurt him." Her mind raced. The Don Salvatore, had been kind to her. He gave her books, sweets, even had the chef make her mother's favorite soup on her birthday. He wasn't just her guardian. He was her family. And now, someone was planning to kill him. She had to warn him. But how does a 9-year-old stop a mafia assassination? She didn't know. She just ran. Down the long staircase, through the golden halls, her bare feet slapped against the marble as she ran. The guard she passed shouted after her, "Lena, where are you going?" But she didn't stop. Through the tall glass doors, she saw him, Don Salvatore, standing by a black Mercedes, laughing softly with his advisor, Marco. His hand rested casually on the car door handle. The sunlight made the silver ring on his finger glint like fire. He looked untouchable, immortal. But Lena saw death. She screamed, her small voice breaking the calm of the courtyard. Lena desperate. Don't, don't get in. Please! Everyone froze. Salvatore turned, startled. Piccolo, what's wrong? His tone softened at first until he saw her face. Tears streaked her cheeks. Her hands were trembling. Her eyes, wide with terror, looked older than her years. Lena pleading. The car. Don't go near it. Please. Marco frowned. What's she talking about? Lena frantic. I heard them. The new guards, they were talking in Chinese. They said something about explosion. And when you get in, her words stumbled, breaking into sobs. For a moment, silence. Then, a spark of realization in Salvatore's eyes. He looked over her shoulder toward the men posted near the garage, the new guards. His tone turned cold as stone. Chinese guards? Marco's smile faded. He exchanged a glance with one of them, a small, nervous twitch. Salvatore's instincts took over. He raised his hand sharply. Don Salvatore commanding. Nobody moves. Check the car. His men rushed to the Mercedes. The courtyard went silent except for the quick, mechanical clinks as they searched. Then, a shout. Guard. Boss. Under the seat, we found something. Lena flinched. Salvatore strode forward, pushing his men aside. There it was, a black device, wires coiled tight, a small red light blinking softly. An explosive. The doe's face darkened, jaw tightening with fury and disbelief. Don Salvatore low, cold. Who brought this car in? Guard nervous. One of the new drivers, sir. Don Salvatore. Where is he? Guard. Gone. He turned to the little girl, the same child who had once hidden behind his chair, too shy to speak. Now she had just saved his life. He knelt down, his voice trembling just slightly, not from fear, but from something deeper. Don Salvatore. Lena, how did you know? Lena whispering. They were speaking in Chinese. My mama taught me some words before she. Her voice broke. I heard explosion. I didn't know what to do. Salvatore looked into her tear-streaked face and, for the first time in years, felt something he thought he'd lost. Trust. He rested a hand gently on her shoulder. You did good, Piccola. You saved me. But even as he said it, his mind was already racing. New guards. Chinese language. A bomb in his car. This wasn't random. This was organized. Someone had placed them here, inside his home. Don Salvatore quietly to Marco. Find out who brought them in. No! Marco nodded, but there was something unreadable in his eyes. Salvatore didn't notice. Not yet. He was too busy looking at Lena and realizing just how fragile everything around him had become. Later that afternoon, the courtyard was empty. The car was gone, the remains of the bomb handed over to specialists. Lena sat on the villa steps, holding her doll again. But now, the air felt different, heavier. She stared at the sunlit driveway where the Mercedes had stood and whispered to herself. Mama used to say listening saves lives. She didn't know it yet, but what she heard that morning was only the beginning. The whispers weren't over, and the walls of this villa had more secrets to tell. As Lena turned to go back inside, she saw something out of the corner of her eye. A shadow near the gate. One of the new guards still stood there, staring at her. He didn't move. He just smiled. Her breath hitched. The man lifted his hand slightly, not to wave, but to press a finger against his lips. A warning. Silence. Then he walked away. Lena's small hands gripped her doll tighter. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. She didn't know who he was. But she knew one thing. The danger wasn't over. Inside, Don Salvatore watched her from his study window. He saw the fear in her eyes. He saw the world closing in. And as the daylight faded across the marble floors, he whispered to himself, someone inside my house wants me dead. The clock ticked slowly. The villa, once bright and peaceful, now felt like a cage of glass, ready to shatter. A little girl had just saved a mafia boss's life, but in doing so, she had made herself a target. The whispers would return, and next time they'd be meant for her. The bomb was gone, but the fear stayed. That morning, Don Salvatore should have died. The car that waited for him wasn't a car. It was a coffin dressed in black leather and chrome, and if not for a trembling 9-year-old girl, his empire would have lost its king. Now, the courtyard that once smelled of roses and espresso smelled like sweat and gun oil. The doe's men searched every corner of the estate, dogs barking, radios buzzing, orders shouted. But inside the villa it was silent. The kind of silence that comes only after death has brushed by and missed its mark. In his study, Don Salvatore sat behind a heavy oak desk. His face, usually calm and unreadable, was tight with anger. Across from him stood Lena, small, frightened, still clutching her doll. The doe's voice was low, rough from too many cigarettes and too much rage. Don Salvatore, tell me again, Piccola, what did you hear? Lena hesitated. Her small fingers twisted around the doll's arm. Her lips trembled. Lena. They were near the stairs. They spoke Chinese. Mama used to teach me some words. I heard. Baozhao. That means explosion. I think. Her voice cracked at the end, as if saying it made it more real. Salvatore leaned forward, elbows on his desk. His cold, dark eyes softened just slightly. Don Salvatore. And you understood that much. Lena. Only that part. They said something like, when he gets in the car, it ends. The Don leaned back slowly, the chair creaking under his weight. He closed his eyes for a long moment, thinking, calculating, remembering faces. Then his hand clenched into a fist. Don Salvatore quietly. Someone inside brought them in. Someone I trusted. He called in his men, his most loyal. The air in the room changed as they entered, men with sharp eyes and sharper hearts. Men who'd killed for him and died for him. At the center stood Marco, his right hand, the man who had run the villa in his absence, who knew every corner, every guard, every schedule. Marco concerned. Boss, I checked their records. The new guards came from one of our business contacts in Shanghai. Legitimate security men. They had clear papers. Don Salvatore. Papers can be forged. Marco. Then whoever did this has money, power, and access. The Don nodded slowly. His gaze drifted to Lena again. Don Salvatore. Without her, I'd be ash on the wind right now. Marco smiled faintly at the girl. Marco, she's a brave one. Her mother would have been proud. Lena's eyes filled with tears. No one had spoken about her mother in months. Lena softly. Mama said listening can save you even when you're small. The doe's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Don Salvatore. Your mother was a wise woman. But his eyes darkened again. And she died because someone made sure she was quiet. Outside, the doe's men dragged the new guards from the courtyard, men who had sworn loyalty just days ago. Now, their wrists were tied, their faces pale. Salvatore stood under the archway as rain began to fall, a soft drizzle turning the marble slick and cold. Don Salvatore. Who sent you? No one answered. One man looked up, fear in his eyes, but the moment he opened his mouth, a single gunshot echoed. He collapsed to the ground. The others screamed. Salvatore didn't flinch. He didn't blink. Don Salvatore quietly. Someone doesn't want them talking. He turned to Marco. Don Salvatore. We have a leak. Find it. Tonight. Marco nodded, his face grim. But in his eyes there was a flicker. A small, cold glint. The kind of look a wolf gives before the pack realizes it's been living with one. That night, the villa went quiet again. The rain had stopped, leaving the air heavy and damp. Lena sat in her room by the window, watching the lights flicker across the courtyard. Men patrolled the grounds with guns on their shoulders. She couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the moment she'd heard those words. Baozhao. Explosion. If she hadn't listened, Don Salvatore would be gone. But something still didn't make sense. Why were the guards speaking Chinese? Why now? And why did Marco, the man who always smiled, look so calm after it all happened? She pressed her face to the window pane. Down below, she saw him. Marco stood in the courtyard, talking to someone near the gate. He was half hidden in shadow. Lena squinted, trying to see. The man he spoke to wasn't one of the villa guards. His accent, faint but sharp, was Chinese. And then she saw it. Marco passed him something, a small envelope. Her heart began to race. She didn't know what it meant. But deep inside, a voice whispered. Mama said if something feels wrong, it usually is. The Don couldn't rest either. The image of that blinking red light haunted him. He'd survived ambushes before, but never one from inside his own home. He looked at an old photograph on his desk. A woman smiling softly beside a little girl. Lena's mother. He whispered to the picture, voice breaking for the first time in years. Don Salvatore. If you can see her, Lucia. Thank you. She's got your courage. He poured himself a drink, and as the clock ticked past midnight, he made a silent vow. Whoever planned this will not live to see the sun rise. But even as he planned his revenge, danger was already moving again. By dawn, Two of his trusted men were missing. Cameras near the east gate had gone dark, and when they checked the footage, every second between midnight and 2 a.m. was erased. Someone was covering their tracks. Someone close. Salvatore's fury burned like fire under calm skin. Don Salvatore, whoever you are, you're not killing me. You're killing my family. Lena woke before the sun, the same unease twisting in her stomach. She thought maybe the nightmare was over. Maybe the dawn would be safe now. But as she went downstairs, something caught her eye. A man, one of the remaining guards, stood by the kitchen door, speaking quietly into a phone. The words made her blood run cold. Guard in Chinese. The first plan failed. The boss is alive. We wait for new orders. Lena froze. He turned slightly, his reflection catching her in the glass cabinet. She ducked behind the table, heart pounding in her chest. When she looked again, the man was gone. She didn't know who to tell. Marco? He might be part of it. The Don? What if they were listening? She ran back to her room and locked the door. Her small hands shook as she wrote a note on a torn piece of paper. They're still here. Someone is talking in Chinese again. She folded it, ran to the study, and slipped it under the door's door before anyone could see her. Then she hurried back, pretending nothing had happened. Hours passed. Then, just before noon, the Don appeared in her doorway. His eyes were softer this time, but full of storm. Don Salvatore. You heard them again? She nodded quickly. Lena. Yes. I think they said. They wait for new orders. He knelt beside her, lowering his voice. Don Salvatore. Then the war hasn't started yet. But it will. He stood, straightened his coat, and called for Marco. Don Salvatore. We move everything to the safe house. No one leaves alone. Not even me. Marco nodded obediently, too obediently. Marco. Yes, boss. I'll handle it. But as he turned away, his lips curled into the faintest smirk. Lena saw it. Her heart sank. She didn't know why, but she knew something terrible was coming. Outside, the men loaded cars. The Doe's convoy was ready to leave by sunset. The first vehicle, the repaired black Mercedes, sat gleaming once again in the driveway. Lena stared at it, her throat dry. Lena whispering, not that car again. Salvatore walked out, phone in hand, giving orders. Make sure the roads are clear. Lena's pulse hammered. She didn't trust the car. She didn't trust Marco. And she couldn't shake the feeling that they hadn't stopped the danger, only delayed it. She wanted to tell him again, to scream, don't go. But this time, the words wouldn't come out. Her voice froze in her throat. And then she saw it. Near the garden wall, a shadow slipping through the gate. One of the new guards. Alive. Watching. Her hand flew to her mouth. He lifted a phone to his ear and smiled. Lena didn't understand all the words he spoke, but she caught one. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Something worse was coming. And this time, no one might be left to listen. The morning after the explosion that never happened should have felt like peace. But it didn't. Inside the villa, the silence was sharp. Everyone moved slower, spoke softer, and watched each other too carefully. The walls themselves seemed to listen. And in the middle of it all sat a little girl, Lena, who had seen and heard far too much for her age. Lena was in the library that morning, tracing the edges of a photo frame. It showed her mother, smiling in the garden years ago. Behind her, Don Salvatore had one arm around her shoulder, the other hand resting protectively over her belly, before Lena was born. That photo used to bring comfort. Now, it only reminded Lena how fragile everything was. Her mother was gone. Her father, the Don, was fighting a war he couldn't see. And she was the only one who had heard the enemy speak. Lena whispering, why did they use Chinese again? Why not Italian? Or English? Her little fingers tightened around the frame. Because she already knew the answer. They didn't want anyone else to understand. But she did. Don Salvatore entered, his tailored black suit freshly pressed, his eyes red from a sleepless night. He didn't look like a monster, not to her. He looked like a tired father pretending to still be a king. Don Salvatore softly. Piccola, you haven't eaten. Lena, I'm not hungry. He sat beside her, placing his large hand over hers. Don Salvatore, you did something brave. Because of you, we are alive. Lena, but they're still here, Papa. I heard them again. That word, Papa, always softened him. But this time, it didn't bring a smile. He just nodded, eyes narrowing. Don Salvatore. Then maybe it's time they start answering. 3 men knelt in front of the Doe's guards. One of them, the man who had spoken to Marco last night, stared straight ahead, defiant. Don Salvatore, you came here to guard me. You brought poison instead. Who sent you? No answer. Don Salvatore cold. Then maybe the girl was right. You don't fear death because death already pays you. He turned away, snapping his fingers. A guard pulled the man's head back, steel glinting in the light. Then, suddenly, Lena shouting from the stairs, "Stop!" The dawn froze. She was standing there, trembling but fierce, her voice echoing in the cellar. Lena, he won't tell you anything. They don't talk. They listen. Everyone turned to her, confused. Don Salvatore. What do you mean, listen? Lena, they have something in their ears. Tiny black, like a seed. She ran forward before anyone could stop her, reaching for the man's ear. And there it was, a small wireless earpiece, almost invisible against his skin. Lena shaking. Someone's listening right now. The Doe's face hardened instantly. He ripped the earpiece out, crushing it under his shoe. The line went dead. But not before a faint click came from somewhere far away. The sound of someone ending the transmission. Don Salvatore. Marco, get the surveillance running. Lock the estate down. No one leaves, no one enters. Marco calm. Already done, boss. But maybe we should move Lena first. For safety. The Don hesitated. For safety or for silence? Don Salvatore. She stays with me. Marco smiling faintly. As you wish. Lena saw that smile again. The one that never reached his eyes. And something deep inside her whispered that Marco wasn't planning to protect anyone. The villa was locked down. Every gate sealed. Every car inspected. But fear doesn't stay outside walls. It grows inside them. Lena sat near the window, watching the guards. One by one, they disappeared around corners, never coming back. Lena whispering to herself, they're taking them away. Suddenly, a soft voice behind her. Marco. You shouldn't be here, ragazza. She turned slowly. Marco stood in the doorway, hand behind his back, eyes calm. Lena, Papa said I can stay anywhere I want. Marco. Did he now? He took a step closer. His tone was kind, too kind. Marco. You know things, don't you? Things you shouldn't. Lena backed away. Lena. I didn't mean to listen. Marco. But you did. He knelt, lowering his voice to a whisper. Marco. Tell me, Lena, what else did you hear? Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She remembered her mother's words. When you're scared, tell the truth only to someone who can protect you. Marco was not that someone. Lena softly. Only Chinese words. I don't understand them all. Marco. Ah, but you understand enough. He smiled, that same, cold, serpent smile, and stood. Marco. Then be careful what you say next. Some secrets, once spoken, can't be unsaid. And with that, he left. Just like that. No threat, no violence. Only a promise hanging in the air. Don Salvatore. Marco says you're scared of him. Lena. He talks to the bad man, Papa. He knows the ones who tried to hurt you. The Doe's jaw tightened. Don Salvatore. You're accusing my most trusted manual. Lena tears welling. I saw him give them money. I heard him talk to them. Silence. For a long moment, the only sound was the fire cracking. Then the Don reached for his drink, staring into the glass. Don Salvatore. If what you say is true, Piccola, then I've been blind. And blindness kills. He set the glass down. Don Salvatore. Tomorrow, we'll test his loyalty. Lena didn't know what that meant, but she knew how her father's voice changed when he planned to end something. or someone. Everyone stood in silence as Marco approached the dawn. A convoy of cars waited by the gate. Don Salvatore, we're going to the safe house. You drive the lead car. Marco, of course. Lena gripped her father's hand. Her voice trembled. Lena, Papa, not that car. He looked down, puzzled. Don Salvatore. Why? But she couldn't answer. All she could do was point to the black sedan, the same model that was meant to explode before. The Don hesitated. Then, quietly, he motioned for Marco to step back. Don Salvatore. Change of plan. I'll take the second car. Marco's jaw twitched. Marco, as you wish, boss. He opened the driver's door himself and climbed in. The engine roared to life. The convoy began to move. The shockwave shattered windows. Flames licked the morning sky. Screams echoed across the valley. Lena clung to her father as he shielded her. Her ears rang. Her heart pounded. Don Salvatore hoarse whisper. It was meant for me. He looked at her, disbelief flooding his face. Don Salvatore. How did you know? Lena could barely speak. Lena trembling. Because I heard them last night. They said, tomorrow. The traitor was dead. But the voice on the other end of that earpiece, the one who gave the orders, still lived. And he had just lost his best man. Somewhere, far away, a phone rang. A calm voice answered in Mandarin. Unknown voice. The girl survived again? Then, this time we take her first. The smoke from Marco's car still hung in the doe's memory, like a ghost that refused to fade. He had lost a man he once trusted and nearly lost his life for it. But Don Salvatore knew something the others didn't. The explosion wasn't the end. It was only the message, and the real war had just begun. The docks were quiet, too quiet. For years, this was where the doe's empire breathed. His ships brought wealth, his men brought order, and his enemies brought fear. But now, the docks felt different. Every shadow looked like a spy. Every echo sounded like a whisper. And behind those whispers, Lena's small voice still rang in his head. They said tomorrow. Tomorrow had come and gone. Now, he waited for what came after. Don Salvatore quietly. You shouldn't be here, Piccola. Lena, you said you don't leave me anymore. Don Salvatore after a pause. I did say that. He smiled faintly, though it didn't reach his eyes. Because he knew she was the only one who'd seen through the lies. The only one who could hear danger before it spoke. Dozens of men were already waiting. Black coats, hidden weapons, silent stares. At the far end of the pier, a ship stood ready to unload a new shipment from Hong Kong. That was the plan. But plans had a way of bleeding when money and betrayal touched them. Don Salvatore. Where's our contact? Guard. Said he'd meet you by the warehouse, boss. The Don glanced at his watch. Exactly noon. Too precise. Too neat. Don Salvatore gritting his teeth. He's not coming to talk. He's coming to finish what Marco couldn't. Her eyes narrow. Far in the distance, near the ship's crane, she spots two men. They're talking fast. Too fast. She can't hear every word. But then, one phrase cuts through the wind like a blade. In Chinese, when the boss reaches the dock, detonate. Her heart stops. Detonate. She looks at her father, still walking toward the warehouse. The sun flashes off a hidden antenna near the dock lights. And in that split second, she understands. It wasn't a meeting. It was a trap. Lena screaming. Papa, don't go in. Everyone turns. Her voice slices through the silence. Don Salvatore. Lena? She's out of breath, pointing, shaking. Lena. They said to detonate. They're watching us. The doe's eyes go wide. He looks up, sees the faint red glow under the dock railing. Don Salvatore shouting. Everyone down. Flames rip through the pier. Metal screams. Water erupts into fire. The blast throws them back. Smoke and salt filling the air. Don Salvatore shouting. Lena, stay down. Stay with me. She blinks, her ears ringing, vision shaking. The world is chaos, men screaming, ships burning, crates collapsing into the sea. But through the haze, she sees movement, figures running. not toward them. Away. The traitors. Lena weakly. Papa there. Don Salvatore turns, sees them sprinting toward a small boat hidden behind the containers. He grips his gun, fury burning in his veins. Don Salvatore. They think they can run from me. They weave between flaming barrels, broken steel, and shattered glass. Every shot fired cracks like thunder over the sea. One by one, his men drop, until only a few remain. Lena hides behind a crate, whispering prayers through tears. Lena to herself, please, please let him come back. Then, silence. The shooting stops. Only the crackling of fire remains. She steps out slowly, heart pounding. Lena calling, Papa? No answer. She turns a corner and freezes. Don Salvatore is on his knees, gun smoking in his hand. In front of him lies a man, shot twice in the chest, coughing blood, laughing weakly. Wounded man in Mandarin, gasping. You killed your own. The Don frowns. Don Salvatore. What did you say? The man spits blood, smirking. Wounded man in English. The real traitor is still with you. Before the Don can reply, the man collapses dead. Lena crying. It's over now, right? The Don doesn't answer. His eyes are fixed on the horizon, where the sea meets the sky. Don Salvatore softly. No, Piccola. Not yet. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a torn photograph, the same one from his office. Only now, it's stained with soot and blood. He flips it over. On the back, written in clean handwriting, are two Chinese characters. Next shipment. And a location. Shanghai docks. Don Salvatore to himself. They were never just here. They've been moving everything overseas. He looks down at Lena, realizing the threat wasn't finished. It was expanding. Lena sits beside her father on a crate, wrapped in his coat. Her small voice breaks the silence. Lena, you said you built these docks when Mama was alive. Don Salvatore quietly. She wanted to see the ships leave for new beginnings, not to carry death. A long pause. Then, softly, Lena, will we ever be safe again? The Don looks at her, his eyes tired but fierce. Don Salvatore. Safety is not what men like me find, Piccola. But maybe men like me can make it for you. He stands, staring out at the dark waves. The reflection of fire dances across his face. Don Salvatore whispering, they came to my city. They came for my blood. Now I go for theirs. The Doe's lieutenant rushes up, shouting, Guard! Boss! That ship, it's leaving without orders. The Don squints. Through binoculars, he sees a small figure at the ship's stern. A child. Lena gasps. Lena. That's May the girl from the kitchen. Don Salvatore frowning. No one was supposed to be aboard that ship. Then, the radio crackles. A distorted voice in Chinese fills the silence. Voice in Mandarin. The girl is the key. Keep her alive until the exchange. The Doe's blood runs cold. He turns sharply to his men. Don Salvatore commanding, get me a boat. Now! But it's too late. The ship is already fading into the fog, its horns echoing like a warning. The docks burned behind them, but the real fire was just beginning. A second little girl was in their hands now, and somewhere across the sea, the voice that hunted them was waiting. By dawn, the docks were quiet again. Too quiet. The night before, fire had swallowed everything, ships, crates, men, secrets. The betrayal had ended in flames, and those flames burned away what little faith Don Salvatore had left in the world. And yet, even after the fire, even after the bodies, one question still haunted him. Who was giving the orders? Because Marco was dead, but the voice in Chinese was still alive. Lena. Her white dress was covered in soot. She clutched her doll, now half burned, its porcelain face cracked down the middle. She walked slowly, her small shoes crunching over blackened wood. Lena softly. They were here, I heard them. Her father's men searched the area, whispering, afraid to even speak too loudly. They all looked at her now, not as a child, but as something strange. Something that saw too much. He looked older, tired, haunted by ghosts that refuse to die. Don Salvatore quietly. All this because of a language I couldn't understand and a child who could. He turned as Lena approached. Lena, Papa, it's not over. Don Salvatore. No, Piccola. It never is. He crouched down, brushing ash from her hair. Don Salvatore. Tell me what you heard last night, before the fire. Her voice trembled. Lena. They said if he burns, the message will rise with the smoke. The Don frowned. Don Salvatore. A message? She pointed toward the water, where charred papers floated between the planks. He reached down, pulling one free. The ink had run, but a few words were still visible. Chinese characters, and beneath them, a date. Tomorrow. Don Salvatore murmuring, they're not finished. He looked around the dock, the warehouses, the burnt trucks, the shattered crates. And then he saw it, painted faintly on the side of a container, half hidden by smoke. A red circle with 3 black strokes through it. Lena's eyes widened. Lena, I saw that symbol before in Marco's notebook. The doe's voice turned to ice. Don Salvatore. Then he wasn't working alone. The place smelled of gasoline and salt. Rats scurried across the floor as the doe's men searched through the debris. Lena followed quietly, staying close to her father. Every sound, a door creaking, a chain rattling, made her heart jump. Suddenly, she stopped. Lena whispering, wait, listen. Through the wind came faint voices. Chinese. Voice 1 in Chinese muffled. The child must not reach tomorrow. Lena's heart froze. She turned to her father, eyes wide. Lena, they're coming for me. The Don raised his gun, motioning for silence. He pressed a finger to his lips, then to the air. Footsteps. Soft. Getting closer. 3 men appeared through the haze, wearing black coats and earpieces. Don Salvatore cold, so you're the ones who've been whispering in my house. They didn't answer, they just lifted their weapons. Gunfire exploded through the warehouse. Wood splintered. Glass shattered. The Don pulled Lena behind a steel beam, shielding her with his body. Don Salvatore gritting his teeth. Run when I say, Piccola. Not before. Lena terrified. No, Papa. Don Salvatore. DOIT. He stepped out, firing with both hands, precise, brutal, merciless. 2 of the attackers fell. The third ran for the exit. Lena's scream pierced the silence. Lena, behind you. The Don spun. Too late. A shot rang out. Everything slows. The screen goes white. A ringing sound fills the silence. When Lena opened her eyes, the air was thick with smoke. Her father was on the ground, clutching his side. Lena crying, Papa, Papa, no. He reached for her hand, his breath shallow. Don Salvatore weakly. It's nothing, just a scratch. It wasn't. Blood spread beneath him like ink on paper. He pulled her close. Don Salvatore. You listen to me, Lena. You're smarter than all of them. You hear what others don't. That's your gift. Lena sobbing. But I don't want it. I just want you. Don Salvatore. Then use it to survive. His voice trembled. Don Salvatore. Find the man behind the voice. He'll come for you now. Promise me you'll run. She shook her head, tears streaking down her ash-covered face. Lena, I won't leave you. He smiled faintly. Don Salvatore. You already saved me once, Piccola. That's enough. He pressed something into her hand, a small silver locket. Don Salvatore. Your mother's. Inside, you'll find the truth. His hand fell limp. Lena screaming, Papa. The echo carried through the empty dockyard, swallowed by the wind and waves. Lena crouched beside him, shaking, refusing to move. The locket glimmered in her palm. She opened it. Inside was a photo of her mother. And behind it, a folded piece of paper. She unfolded it carefully, hands trembling, revealing a single Chinese phrase written in her mother's handwriting. The man you fear was once the man I loved. Her breath caught. Her mother had known them. The people who wanted her father dead. And suddenly, she understood. This wasn't just about power or revenge. It was personal. The wind blew ashes into the sea. Everything she knew, her home, her safety, her family, was gone. But not her purpose. She turned toward the city skyline in the distance, her small face hardened by grief and resolve. Lena softly, determined. You killed my father, but you left me alive. And now I'll find you. The sound of waves fades into silence. Then, a faint voice crackles through a radio nearby. A known voice in Chinese. The girl lives. Phase 2 begins. Lena's eyes narrowed. She understood every word. Lena quietly. Then let it begin. From that day on, the docks were silent, just ashes and whispers left behind. But somewhere in those ashes a promise was born. A child who had once been afraid to listen now carried the voices of the dead, and the power to finish what they started. If you felt her pain, if you want to know who gave the final order, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because the story of the girl who heard too much is only just beginning.